Welcome back to Ghost Stories, the podcast where we celebrate the incredible students, staff, traditions that make Kaukauna High School, the home of the Galloping Ghosts, such a special place. I'm your host and proud principal, Aaron Herm. Today we are talking about one of the most dominant dynasties in high school sports, which is Kaukauna Wrestling. This season, the Ghosts captured their 5th consecutive state title, their 20th straight FVA championship, which is legendary. On top of that, we had multiple wrestlers who earned all conference honors. Our head coach, Jeff Matczak, was named FVA Coach of the Year, which is a testament to his leadership and culture of excellence that he creates in the program. Outside the wins and the trophies, wrestling is one of the most physically and mentally demanding sports that there is. And so today, I had a chance to sit down with Coach Matczak, Liam Crook, who won an individual championship this year, and Ron Ramadani, who's a freshman on the team, to talk about what it takes to compete at this level, how wrestling is shaping their high school experience, and what it means to represent Kaukauna. So whether you're a big follower of Kaukauna Wrestling, just a member of the community, or somebody who likes to hear about hard work and success, this is going to be a great episode for you. So enjoy the interview. All right, who am I here with?
Coach Matczak, 34-year teacher of Kaukauna High School.
Liam Crook, junior in high school.
Ron Ramadani, freshman in high school.
Thank you all for being here. First thing I want to say, of course, is congratulations on the success this year. 5th straight title, all you know is championships. That's really awesome. What does that big moment feel like when you win that state title?
It's pretty cool. Team wise, you get to share it with your entire team, and just the bus ride home, and just the feeling of, we set out to do something and we achieved it. And then individually, it was really fun to just be able to come back and do it again and do it a different way.
Yeah. Ronnie, anything to add?
I think, it felt great because the whole season, that's what we've been working towards. And, the hard work paid off. We haven't had 5 before, and, we hit that milestone. It's only up from here.
Awesome. So, Coach, they get to talk about the end product of celebrating the wins, but, 5 straight state championships, 20 straight conference titles. There's a lot that goes into that. So what are some keys as far as the hard work that goes into achieving that level of success?
It's getting good kids like Ronnie and Liam, and kids that love wrestling, love winning, hate losing more than they love winning, probably, if you ask them. And but they're willing to do all the little things from a technical standpoint to a conditioning standpoint, nutrition standpoint, and then a social behavioral standpoint. There's a standard you have to do to make all those things happen, just to get on the mat, perform well, and then exponentially you got to take it up several notches to achieve, the highest levels. So, Liam was an individual state champ and a state champ. He's a junior. He's done it before, 2-time state champ and placer as a freshman. Ronnie's just coming into the community, the school, but it's like he's been here as long as Liam, and as far as I'm concerned, he's really adapted well, and that's a credit to him and his family, but also to the kids in our program for embracing a new student to our school and feeling like he's one of our guys all along. So that then building that family culture around the program, and it's not always easy. I've had great fights with my brothers and sisters, and we all love each other. We have 7 people, and so we know how that works. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows all year. Our kids they're feisty. They want things, but we all tie back in together for one common goal at the end.
So I don't think that just happens either. I guess, Ronnie, I'm super interested, you having been at a previous school and wrestled there, right? Where at?
DeKalb.
Illinois?
Yep.
And now coming to Kaukauna, right? So you come in, talk about the difference.
Well, I think the big difference is that here, it's a lifestyle. I'm not saying there it isn't, but here, that's our main thing. Kaukauna, first thing you think Kaukauna is wrestling. DeKalb, you have your football, your baseball, whatever, soccer. I think a big difference is here, it's a big deal here, proven success. I'm not saying DeKalb hasn't had their success.
Were they a successful? I don't know anything about DeKalb. What was wrestling like there?
I mean, when I was in middle school, we won a state title our 8th grade year, but it's middle school, It's not a big a deal. High school's where it matters.
Title's a title, but yeah.
And I think a big thing is that here, you got guys that want to push each other. You got these guys who put in the extra work, extra hours after practice, they stay. And just the culture here feels so much, it feels real.
Okay. So, Liam, this question's for you. So, Coach Matczak has some pretty high expectations for you guys. What gets you to buy into those expectations and follow through?
Probably like when I came here, they were winning a lot, and when I was in 8th grade, you kind of hear about the process that they have to go through, and I kind of got to see it during the summer, and being able to see like their process has given them the success. Like it's not just, oh, we do this, but we're always third, we're always second, we're always fourth. It's we do this and we're gonna win. That's it. There's no, well, this could happen, well, this could happen. No. It's we do this and we're going to win every time. Now, Cheesehead and this year's Eau Claire was a little different. I think we did a lot of right things. I think those guys they're just ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? If we're playing chess, they were 6 moves in and we're only 3. But we were competing with them too, right? It was St. Michael Albertsville. And then maybe
where's that at?
That was St. Michael Albertsville is in Minnesota.
Okay.
This was at the Eau Claire tournament.
Okay.
St. Michael Albertsville and then us. And then everybody else was a couple 40, 50 points behind us. It's not like, oh, this team's really close to us. It was just us, So I think that's the big thing, is understanding that the process will give you the results you want.
So, Coach, you've had a lot of great teams. Is there anything about this particular team or this group of kids that stands out to you?
In fairness to all those great champions in the past, I know I got a couple of current ones sitting here. Not really. They've all had to do something really, really hard. And, there's a line you have to cross to win a conference title, to win a sectional title, to win a state title in the Vans. There's a line you have to cross. It's not like it's easier one year than another year. You have to be really, really good. And sometimes you're really good and you don't make it. We've got silver trophies in our case from over the years. And some of those teams might have been close, but they didn't cross that line. But they were great teams, great kids. I always thought we always did everything right. And we were just a body short, a point short, a second short, and sometimes a call short. But we don't apologize for the good calls we get when we win. So it's just a 50-50 toss type of situation. But I'll say this about this team in terms of talent and bringing it together at the end, and then the score they put up in the finals, because that opponent in the finals, there's a line they had to cross to get to that point. And so typically you're wrestling up against a very similar team every year. And we put up a score that might be the most dominant in Division I history in the 30-plus years of the state tournament. Now, somebody said it was the most, so I'd have to go fact check that person and to see if Rapids didn't put up a more lopsided score. But we really put up a number here that we've never done before, 54-18 in the finals, 11 wins to 3. We've never only succumbed 3 losses in a state dual meet final in 14 matches. So that's something they did product-wise, very objectively measured. And, from a talent standpoint, we broke a school record in takedowns in a year where they gave more points for the takedowns. So you technically should have got less with the Tech Falls ending the match quicker. We were better on the feet than any team overall that I've coached. Just going right up the line, every wrestler in our lineup was very proficient in takedowns. And then we had a bunch of kids that could take down anybody in the state. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't beat them, but when you can take somebody down, it means you have a good chance of beating them. And I look at like Andy and Nikki didn't win state titles, but they got takedowns against the eventual state champions in those losses in the semifinals. That's saying something about just the quality of the skills that our kids have. So very talented. And then as far as the bringing in it together, it's sometimes, your team is not as cohesive at all, but this team was very cohesive in the end in terms of wanting a vision, helping each other out, being unselfish, wrestling whatever weight class the coaches ask them to wrestle. It doesn't always go that way for all the teams that are, even good in the postseason. So our kids were willing to do whatever it took. If a senior was asked to go at this weight class against the other team's best wrestler, he went out there and fought harder than anybody. I'm not so sure Arrowhead or some of the other schools were willing, to do that. Like, our kids were really locked in and focused on knowing what their job was. And in wrestling, you can lose and still win for your team. And we sincerely believe that. Our crowd cheers when somebody loses a match, but they only give up a major decision and don't give up bonus points. Like, our crowd understands it, our team understands it, and that rubs on our kids understand it. And they'll come running off the mat, and you would have thought they would have won the match. But they know that we've got to do X, Y, and Z in every match in order to come out ahead. And we executed in just about every match down at the field house. So that's a credit to our kids buying into the team process.
Awesome. So from the perspective of a school principal, I think what's interesting to me is how wrestling is a piece of a bigger picture, right? Your student athletes. And I know this is very important to Coach Matczak as well. So you compete in one of the toughest sports physically and mentally. How do you balance that with school and training, and maybe people have jobs even, and everything else that comes with being a student athlete?
Time management is a big thing, and I'm still trying to understand it and trying to learn how to be really good in time management. But it starts with understanding that, like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to wrestle for the entirety of my life, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to retire. I'm going to have to go get a job. I'm going to have to go do X, Y, and Z. So I need to have my schoolwork up to what it needs to be so I can get into certain schools. Like the school I'm committed to right now, Virginia, is a very highly academic school. So I need to be able to be...
Impressive, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. I need to be at my A game when it comes to studying, when it comes to understanding material, when it comes to using my time wisely in the classroom. NCAAs are going on right now, and I can't get distracted by that when there's certain assignments coming up, when there's certain things going on. And that's just a big thing. Time management is probably the biggest thing.
Awesome. And you guys come from different perspectives. So you're coming from the perspective of a junior. How about as a freshman? What's that whole experience like to try to balance school and wrestling?
He's wicked smart, so he's got it down.
I think it's a lot about having your priorities straight. You go home, you got homework, you should do it. Don't spend time playing your game, watching whatever videos, YouTube, whatever you guys, whatever people like to do. It's about doing what's important, because if you don't have the grades, you won't be able to wrestle. So if you really care about the sport, then you need to have the grades there too, and just about having your priorities set straight. What comes first, what comes second. Without grades, there is no wrestling, So I think that's a big part of it, just spending your time wisely. Time management, like Liam said. Yeah.
So what I hear you guys saying that's really encouraging to me, right, is like some of the lessons you learn from wrestling are not only about wrestling, but about priorities, about discipline. Like, those are the things that I hear from you, right? What are some of the other things that Coach Matczak, preaches that are lessons that go beyond wrestling?
There's a lot that I don't really think are like specific things that you can think about, but it's just kind of about being yourself. I had a big, I didn't share this a lot, but I had a big crisis when I took fifth, because I was so focused on the numbers, right? I was number 2 in the state, lost in the quarterfinals, lost in the Conti semis. So I really felt like I'd failed. I'd failed to to do something that I wanted to do my whole life. And I had a big problem with that mentally. And I remember I was sitting in the hotel. I was sitting like by the stairs and I was crying. Like and Matczak came over by me because all the other guys were going out to get food. And I was so emotionally not accepting what had happened. And his biggest thing, and I've heard it from other coaches, but the one that really stuck with me was when he said, you just got to get the next best thing. We don't like taking even numbers. We want odd numbers. So get the next best thing, wrestle, compete, and you'll do just fine.
I think a big thing that stuck with me was before a Rapids duel, he had a talk with us, and he said, to beat us, you have to break us, So a big thing is, you put all your time towards this one thing, and you mastered it, but the only way to truly win is to win the mental game too. You can't be, broken down by whatever adversary you face, and you gotta just keep pushing through it. Just keep trucking.
Absolutely. Coach, is there any lessons that you try to weave in or that you hope that kids take from the experience?
The big one, and you said it, was discipline, and you said besides discipline, and if I could just do one thing, it would be that, to create more discipline in myself, all, our staff, and then right through to our kids. It starts with you. So if you want the people that are under you, in this case, my athletes, not under, but under my responsibility, if you want them to be disciplined, you have to be disciplined. You have to demonstrate that too. You have to be around, you have to be involved, you have to be into the sport. You have to show that you are emotionally involved. It's not physically, it's just how much emotionally. And then you've got to, the greatness is inside them. I'm not putting it in them. I have to find a ways to open up and let it eke out onto the mat. And sometimes it's just getting them into perspective, like in Liam's case of, you'll really feel bad if you allow your feelings right now to affect you tomorrow. And then and then Sunday and Monday comes around and then you realize, I didn't even place, or I got nothing because of that. And so one loss can't define you. It's like we say, everything is, it's how you respond to things, and not what happens to you. So, I was proud of him, how he picked up his freshman year and came back and battled really tough and came back and got something really good out of it, so that because again, in the end, everybody wants a legacy when they leave. So, you don't want to waste any opportunities, accomplishing some things you work so hard for because of one bad thing, in your opinion, that happened to you. And then there's, just that, going back to that discipline is just it's a hot button. Life is easy for people compared to the way it was years ago. And the first thing we talk about too is wrestling and baseball and basketball and football. The great thing about sports is it was just as hard to win a wrestling match now than it was 30, 40 years ago. It's 6 minutes, it's on a mat, it's one-on-one, it's equal weight, it's 2 points, now 3, but he gets 3 or she gets 3. It's 3 for a takedown. You want to get them on their back and pin them. People are going to be crazy, screaming and yelling and all that stuff. And so nothing's changed in wrestling. Whereas a lot of other things in the world, how we get information is easier, and how we order our food is easier, and how we, you name it, how we fall asleep at night is easier with a CPAP machine or, whatever.
That hasn't changed for all of us quite yet. But.
I'm just saying, I don't have one, but I'm talking about rest. I'm talking about eating, and I'm talking about living. And so everything from going 24 hours around the clock, there's ways to improve life, but there's no way to improve the life of an athlete in competition. It's the same darn hard, rugged sport until they build AI models of us to go out and fight for us. It's going to be people, and we have to acquire the skills. We got to acquire the mental capacity to go and do something against another human being. And I say that for all sports, but that's what it is. So you have to have the discipline that is maybe not afforded you in the other parts of your life being easier. Wrestling is tough. And so and so is any other sport, like a cross-country race, it's still 3.2 miles. Go run that sucker on the hills. And so the runners have to deal with that same thing too. And that's discipline is the biggest one. And I don't think you can go anywhere after that until you understand that the hard work and the discipline that need to go into something if you want to accomplish it.
That was a great perspective. I really like that. My next question, I guess, for the wrestlers might connect to that. One thing when I see you compete, or even if I see groups of you guys around school and things like that, that is immediately obvious to me is that you get along and there's a brotherhood there. And you're nodding your head. And I think as we were preparing for the podcast before we hit record and even listening to you during the podcast, I feel that. How do you create that? And how do you describe it?
That's a good question. You don't really try to create it. It's not like we sat down and we're like, guys, we need to be a team. It happens. Like it starts, my freshman year, Peyton, Lee, and I got really close, and that kind of molded into Zach Winnikins, our 215 pounder. He kind of came into our group, and then you had, Perry was friends with Zach. It just came. Ron came in this summer to our club practices, and we took him. It just became this snowball of like, oh well, I'm friends with him. Well, and I think the other thing is just the pressure of everything. When you're in the third down back of sprints and somebody moved when they weren't supposed to, you get that pressure and you tend to kind of stay together and try to I don't have any better words, but you try to lock in together and just fight. Team state. Matczak brings us in, and Matczak's talking, and he started getting choked up, or at least I thought he was, and I think a lot of other guys thought he was, and
he's shaking his head,
and that just we all kind of looked at each other and was like, all right, it's over, like we're all in now, it's done. You don't even need to bring those guys out, and that's just the thing that I think is really special is like when you under pressure can form something like that, it doesn't really go away.
Awesome. How would you describe the relationships, or is brotherhood the right word, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. Why?
Because, you spend every single day of the week 2+ hours with these guys, them like the back of your head. Like you just, I think it's really formed under the struggle that you guys go through together. Wrestling is hard. Anyone who tells you it's easy would be lying to you. The struggle of practice, the struggle of, the pressure trying, because obviously we have high expectations for us. The struggle of, keeping those up, and there's just the struggle of just a struggle. It keeps us together, we all go through it. We're all there together for the ride, and that's just a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to your connection as a team being very obvious, another thing that's very obvious is the community's connection to this team, right? The community is very supportive of Kaukauna Wrestling. What does that mean to you to see the school and the town-wide pride in Kaukauna Wrestling?
I'll start off and just go back to, we have when I moved to Kaukauna in 91, and now it's 30 years later, like most small communities, I'd consider this small, the amount of diversity that's occurred in our community over that time, and even our wrestling team. It almost sounds kind of cliquey, but it's not in terms of new kids coming in. Like we usually have 4 or 5 kids that are students at Kaukauna High School that come into wrestling every year. We had a few more this year. I'm not talking about Ronnie moving in as a wrestler from DeKalb via Albania, where he was born. that's a little bit different. He's a wrestler. I'm talking about kids that never wrestled before. They might know a guy on the team or something like that. They may have just had me in class, and it's like, hey, I wouldn't think of trying wrestling. Seems like it'd be something good for her. They just ask. And so they come into the fold, but they don't really have any general knowledge of what's going on here. This isn't, doing fireman's carries in your diapers in Kaukauna. I think people get the misconception of that you're bored into wrestling here. Sure, sometimes it is your dad wrestled or, your brother or something like that. But a lot of times, kid like Bryce Knutson never wrestled, didn't come out to his sophomore year, and he's fantastic right now. And those, those examples go on, and they just kind of catch in and become part of the culture. But like we have kids, we have a senior that had a 31 on his ACT, and we've had kids that I'm hooking up with tutors so they can make the grades to be on the mat. And we also have kids that work jobs. They get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they work till, through our job co-op program at the school, and are out there working in the community, and then get to practice. And they're pretty tired by the end of the day, but they're setting up a career for themselves after they graduate, and they're fantastic wrestlers. And so you have these kids that are all kind of different, but they come together for those 2 hours, and wrestling kind of bonds them, but they have to go their separate ways too. And the pack mentality comes when it's time to compete and really train, at the end of practice, like when Liam said with the sprints, like that's where it comes together. And then, we travel and compete. That's where it all comes together. But they have to have their lives and do their things. And then going back to the community, I'll let these guys speak on that.
It's not really, I can't really put it into a word. Like, I would say I'm very grateful for the community that I have, because I've been around other wrestling communities, and it seems like when you like when I came back after the Kohl Center, it was just, I would walk through a store and it'd be like, oh, congratulations, congratulations. And those guys don't know, they don't know what a single leg is. They don't know what a double leg is, but they just know that what I'm doing is not just for me, it's for the community. It's for, the people that work every day. One of our old slogans was it was, what was it with the street sweeper?
Be the best street sweeper of the Martin Luther King.
Yeah, like you
can you say it for people who don't know it?
Do your job well.
Yeah, be the best street sweeper. Everybody has a job.
Yep.
So when I win a state title, it's not just for me. It's not just for my immediate family. It's for the people who, when it snowed yesterday and the roads were bad and the power was down for some people, it's for those people who come and they fix the power and they plow those roads so I can get to school safe, so other people can get to work safe. It's for them. It's not just for me. So I think having the community be as vocal and as supportive as they are is I'm very grateful for it.
That's super cool. Ron, what does it feel like to have the amount of community support we have for wrestling?
I'm really grateful about the way I was welcomed this year. They all know me by name. Congratulations when I win something. Good job. If something doesn't go my way, they're there to help. They just keep us uplifted. And everyone's just so nice to each other. Like, that's the one thing I really noticed since I moved here. Everyone's just so nice to each other.
Same, yes.
And I'm just grateful.
Absolutely. Me too. Hey, I think that's a good lead into maybe the final question here for you, which is a big question, but I like it. What is the best part of being a Kaukauna Ghost? And that could be wrestling related, or it could be bigger than that, or both. What's the best part of being a Ghost?
Oh, I'm going first now. I think the best part of being a Ghost, wrestling-wise, is just the culture. You got your coaches there pushing you, best coaching staff in the state. And then school-wise, it's, I don't know. We're just known, I guess, for a lot of stuff.
So I kind of go back to Tom Brands. He's a head coach at Iowa. When he was inducted into his city's Hall of Fame, Sheldon, Iowa, he talked about something that was big about the community. They love the fight. They love, like, of course they would love if we would win. You know, like that's pretty cool. But they just love the fight. They love to see a guy who maybe is not supposed to win. Like, I don't think a lot of people had Trent Van Schindel beating the 3-time state qualifier, 2 seed at state. And then he goes out and he fights and he pins them, right? They love watching the guy in orange, whether he's going to win or he's going to lose, go out and go 110%. And then the wrestling-wise, my favorite part, probably that everybody's so open-minded. Because wrestling isn't just a one-answer sport. You know, wrestling is a very nuanced and it's growing every day. You know, you could find, even if you could find a new move every day, you'd be like, oh, look, I came up with this. Oh, I came up with this. So being able to come to Matczak or come to some of our other coaches and be like, hey, you showed it this way. I've learned it this way. I've had success this way. What is not the best, but what is something that can tie these two together where maybe I can use both of them or maybe one's only for me? You know, just being able to be very open-minded and learn that way. It's really cool to be a part of.
Coach, what's the best part of being a Ghost?
Well, I'll go broad. As a staff member and taught at the middle school, coached a lot of sports, I just think there's so much pride. There's so much pride in the Galloping Ghost. I think so many people say they love the Galloping Ghost mascot. I think when they have some of those surveys out there, you know, Gannett did years ago and whatever, and like it's always near the top. And there's some cool mascots, and so you have that, and people, it just you know, there's some traditional things that are done around here, but there are so many people. And this goes way back, just the amount of pride. I've probably learned that most through Steve McDaniel, just being a lifer of Kaukauna, and Scott Cleaver, who moved here when he was young. There's so much pride in the community and in the school and the academics, and you see it on senior awards night. You see it through our performances and our band. You know, it's the marching ghosts. You know, football is back rolling again. Basketball, the sports. You know, we're winning FVA titles like we are now. Believe it or not, you know, at least over the last few years, we are it in the FVA. It's not Nina. It's not the other school that starts with a K down the road. Maybe you want to count it up and just do the numbers over the last 12 months. This is the town, and it goes in cycles for sure. But right now, I'm loving it. Okay, and people got to appreciate that for what it is. Mr. Herm, you were at Oshkosh West, so you come in here, and it's just like you got to be able to feel it and see it. I love the one high school town. You know, I would not probably have coached in. I wrote a paper in Problems in Coaching back in college when I was 20 years old, a philosophy of coaching, and my goal was to go and be a coach, specifically a wrestling coach, and teach this in a one high school community. And I don't know why I knew that back then. That's because probably that's where I was from, but I just knew that I wanted everybody to be involved in one thing in the city. And all arrows point towards the Galloping Ghosts. And everybody's supportive of each other. We're so good in so many things. And that's just because of the pridefulness of the Galloping Ghost. So that's the thing.
Yeah, and in year one, my answer was going to be pride too. I think the pride drives so much. It drives a desire to excel in all the different areas, right? Including what you noticed, Ron, and what I noticed too, is being kind to each other and having a good school culture and a good vibe here in our building. So I 100% agree. I'm really happy you guys took the time today. Part of my selfish reason for doing the podcast every month is this is not a conversation I would have ever gotten to have with you guys. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's a great chance for the community to get to hear that too. So thank you, and congratulations on all the success.
Thank you for having us on.
So that's the interview. Again, a huge thank you to Coach Matczak, to Liam, to Ron for taking the time to share their experience. Their hard work and pride are a perfect example of what makes Kaukauna High School a special place. For me, the big takeaway from the interview, the state titles, the conference championships, the individual honors, those are all things that are going to stick with our wrestlers for a lifetime. But also it's the discipline, the brotherhood, the lessons learned, the pride in wearing orange and black. Those are also things that are going to help shape our wrestlers into successful people beyond the mat and beyond Kaukauna High School. And I'm excited that we get to provide that opportunity thanks to Coach Matczak and the culture of our wrestling program. All right, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the Ghost Stories podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, and share it with your friends and your family and your fellow ghosts. We really appreciate you listening. And until next time, as always, it's a great day to be a ghost.